That moment when you react with disproportionate anger towards someone or find yourself inexplicably drawn to another person. It's not random. It's your shadow speaking, and learning to listen could transform your life. Do you ever find yourself judging others harshly, only to later recognize that same trait within yourself? Are there parts of yourself, perhaps desires, feelings, or memories, that you instinctively hide, even from your own awareness? These experiences reveal something powerful, the unconscious patterns that silently shape your relationships, career choices, and emotional reactions. They point to what psychologists call your shadow self, not something to fear or suppress, but potentially your greatest source of untapped authenticity, creativity, and wholeness. This exploration offers a clear, compassionate guide to understanding this vital part of your psyche, with practical steps to begin transforming unconscious limitations into conscious choices. Let's begin to explore, safely and with curiosity. The shadow, as conceived by renowned psychologist Carl Jung, represents those parts of our personality that we have unconsciously disowned or repressed. Think of it as the psychological equivalent of a blind spot, influential but outside our conscious awareness. To understand the shadow, we need a quick context. The ego is our conscious identity, the I we recognize as ourselves. The persona is our social face, the aspects we present to appear acceptable in different situations. The shadow exists behind this social mask and beyond our immediate awareness. It contains what we've learned through family dynamics, education, painful experiences, or cultural messaging, is unacceptable or simply not me. These disowned parts don't vanish. They're relegated to the unconscious, where they continue to influence us. Here's what's crucial to understand. Your shadow is not just a collection of negative traits. This common misconception misses Jung's deeper insight. While your shadow certainly contains what you might judge as negative, anger, selfishness, envy, it also holds tremendous positive potential, creativity, strength, vulnerability, passion, and vitality that you haven't fully claimed. Jung referred to this as the gold in the shadow. What makes this concept powerful for your life? When you push any quality into the shadow, it becomes unavailable to your conscious self, but continues operating unconsciously. This includes not just socially undesirable impulses, but also untapped talents, authentic desires, and natural strengths that perhaps weren't supported in your formative environments. Can you recall qualities in others that you admire but don't recognize in yourself, or aspects of yourself that you work hard to hide? These might be clues to your shadow content. Before we go deeper, let's address an essential foundation for this work: self-compassion. Shadow exploration requires a kind, non-judgmental stance toward ourselves. Just as we'd offer patience to a friend in a difficult situation, we need to extend that same care to ourselves as we encounter challenging aspects of our psyche. Now, why would anyone choose to engage with these disowned aspects? What tangible benefits might emerge from turning toward rather than away from the shadow? The rewards are both practical and profound. Greater authenticity becomes possible in everyday interactions. Imagine no longer feeling like you're wearing a mask in important relationships or needing to hide parts of yourself at work. As one shadow work practitioner described, "I stopped performing who I thought I should be and discovered who I actually am. It changed everything about how I show up in the world." Your relationships transform as you withdraw projections, those unconscious ways you attribute your disowned qualities to others. When you recognize yourself reacting strongly to a colleague's confidence, for instance, you might discover your own untapped leadership qualities waiting for expression. There's also a remarkable release of energy. Consider how much effort it takes to maintain walls of denial or repression. When John, a corporate manager, recognized and integrated his fear of failure, he described a surge of creative energy I didn't know I had. Projects that used to exhaust me now energize me because I'm not constantly fighting an internal battle. Beyond these everyday benefits, shadow work offers deeper self-knowledge and what many wisdom traditions describe as true wholeness, the integration of all aspects of yourself into a more complete expression of who you are. What happens when we neglect this inner work? Unexamined shadow material doesn't simply remain dormant. It manifests through unconscious projection onto others. Everyone else is so selfish. Inexplicable self-sabotage, repeatedly undermining your own success. Emotional volatility, or that persistent feeling that something important is missing in your life. Rather than viewing shadow work as yet another self-improvement burden, consider it a courageous journey toward greater wholeness. As Jung provocatively suggested, perhaps the goal isn't conventional goodness, but authentic wholeness, the conscious inclusion of all aspects of your being. The question becomes not whether you'll encounter your shadow, you already do, though often unconsciously, but whether you'll engage with it intentionally, with awareness and compassion. How do we actually begin to recognize our shadow material? The most accessible gateway for beginners is through projection, perhaps the most powerful tool for shadow recognition. Projection occurs when we unconsciously attribute our own unacknowledged qualities to other people. It's as if we're watching an internal movie projected outward, but mistaking it for objective reality. The intensity of our reaction is often the clearest signal that projection is occurring. Let me share a concrete example. Alex found himself becoming intensely irritated whenever his colleagues spoke up in meetings. "He's so arrogant," Alex would think, feeling his anger rise. The reaction seemed disproportionate to others. During shadow work, Alex realized he had suppressed his own voice and confidence after being criticized for showing off as a child. His strong reaction wasn't just about his colleagues' behavior, it was his disowned self-confidence being triggered. Once recognized, Alex could both set appropriate boundaries with his colleague and begin reclaiming his own authentic voice. Similarly, when you find yourself harshly judging someone's behavior, perhaps their perceived selfishness or lack of discipline, ask yourself, is there a way I deny myself care or rest under the guise of virtue? Your judgment might be illuminating a shadow aspect seeking integration. Projection works with positive qualities too, what Jung called the golden shadow. When you feel drawn to or envious of someone's creativity, confidence, or expressiveness, you're often encountering aspects of your own undeveloped potential. Pay attention to what captivates you in others. It frequently reveals your own unlived possibilities. Can you recall feeling inexplicably drawn to someone's quality or way of being? What might this reveal about your own potential? Another powerful indicator of shadow material is emotional triggering, those moments when your reaction feels disproportionate to the situation. Consider Sarah, who found herself becoming defensive and angry whenever someone suggested even minor changes to her work. The intensity of her reaction was a clue. Through reflection, she recognized that perfectionism had become her protection against childhood criticism. Her disproportionate emotional response wasn't about the current situation, but about an unintegrated shadow aspect seeking awareness. When you notice yourself experiencing a surge of emotion that seems stronger than the circumstance warrants, whether anger, shame, defensiveness, or unusual attraction, this heightened charge often signals shadow material needing attention. The invitation is simple but profound. When you notice a disproportionate emotional reaction, get curious rather than judgmental. Ask yourself, what might this be showing me about myself? What am I not seeing? Dreams can also provide glimpses of shadow content, often presenting symbolic representations of disowned aspects. However, for beginners, the most accessible approach is to pay attention to your projections and emotional triggers in daily life. They provide tangible, immediate material to work with. Have you noticed any intense reactions in your interactions recently? Take a moment to consider what these might reveal about aspects of your self-seeking integration. Now that we understand how to recognize shadow material through projection and triggers, let's explore practical ways to begin working with these insights. I'll offer 2 simple yet powerful exercises designed specifically for those beginning this journey. The first practice focuses on developing greater awareness of your projections and emotional triggers as they happen in real time. For the next week, commit to becoming a compassionate observer of your strong reactions, both positive and negative. When you feel that charge of judgment, criticism, admiration, or envy towards someone, pause and notice. What specific trait or behavior triggered your reaction? How intense is your emotional response? Could this quality somehow reflect something in you, perhaps something you don't readily acknowledge? For example, James noticed he felt intensely critical of a friend who frequently changed career directions. His judgment felt righteous until he asked himself these questions and realized he had suppressed his own desire for creative exploration in favor of practical stability. The recognition was uncomfortable but illuminating. Remember, the goal isn't self-blame or dismissing legitimate observations about others, but using these reactions as mirrors, revealing aspects of yourself wanting integration. The second practice uses reflective writing as a tool for exploration. Find a quiet moment and a private space to consider one of these journaling prompts. This prompt helps you explore your golden shadow, those positive aspects you might have difficulty claiming or expressing. For example, Eleanor realized her strong admiration for creative people wasn't just appreciation. It revealed her own unexpressed artistic desires waiting for expression. This second prompt gently explores moments when your persona, your social mask, felt threatened by something wanting expression. These uncomfortable moments often reveal important shadow material. With both exercises, approach your exploration with genuine curiosity and kindness, not as a harsh interrogation. You're not looking to judge or fix anything, but simply to bring greater awareness to unconscious patterns. This awareness itself is transformative. Between now and next week, try just one of these exercises, whichever resonates more strongly with you. Start small, perhaps committing to notice just one projection or spending 5 minutes with a single journaling prompt. Even this minimal practice can yield powerful insights. Notice what arises without immediate pressure to change or resolve anything. Simply witnessing these patterns with compassion begins the process of integration. As we venture deeper into shadow work, let's address a crucial aspect often overlooked: how to approach this exploration safely and ethically. Self-compassion isn't just a nice addition to shadow work, it's an absolute requirement. Without it, exploring the shadow can become another form of self-criticism or shame, which only reinforces the initial repression. When difficult emotions or realizations arise during this work, try this simple practice. Place a hand on your heart, take a slow breath, and silently acknowledge, "This is challenging right now. I'm not alone in this struggle. May I be gentle with myself as I learn and grow." It's vital to approach shadow work gradually, respecting your own pace. Honor your natural resistance. It often serves as protection until you're truly ready to integrate certain aspects. There's no race to completion, and forcing confrontation with difficult material can be counterproductive. I want to be explicitly clear. The practices in this video offer awareness tools, not therapy. Shadow work can touch deep psychological material. If you find yourself experiencing overwhelming emotions, persistent distress, or if significant trauma begins to surface, please seek support from a qualified mental health professional. This isn't a sign of failure, but of wisdom and proper self-care. Before we continue, take a moment to notice, without judgment, your current reaction to what we're discussing. Curiosity? Skepticism? Recognition? This awareness itself is the beginning of shadow work. Now that we've established a foundation of safety and compassion, the container for this work, let's explore what we're actually working toward, the process of integration. The ultimate goal of shadow work is integration, not elimination. This distinction is absolutely crucial. We're not trying to destroy or remove parts of ourselves, an impossible and ultimately harmful aim. Rather, we're working toward consciously acknowledging, accepting, and owning these disowned aspects, bringing them into relationship with our conscious self. Integration means creating enough inner spaciousness to hold apparent contradictions, that you can be both strong and vulnerable, structured and spontaneous, depending on what's appropriate in a given situation. It means reclaiming the energy and wisdom contained in all aspects of your psyche. Let me share how this looks in practice. Thomas, a business leader, had repressed his vulnerability, seeing it as weakness. This shadow aspect emerged as harsh criticism of colleagues who showed emotion. Through shadow work, he didn't eliminate his capacity for strength and stoicism, valuable qualities in certain contexts. Instead, he expanded his range to include vulnerability when appropriate, accessing deeper connections with his team and family. This integration process is beautifully illuminated by the ancient Hermetic principle of polarity. This principle suggests that seemingly opposite traits actually exist on a spectrum as different expressions of the same underlying energy. Consider how anger and assertiveness share the same energy of boundary setting, differing in degree and consciousness. Selfishness and self-care are points on a spectrum of meeting personal needs. Control and leadership reflect the same organizational impulse at different intensities. Understanding this helps you see that integrating shadow aspects isn't about eliminating the dark pole, but recognizing its relationship to qualities you value. The ancient alchemical motto, solver et coagula, dissolve and coagulate, offers another helpful metaphor for this integration process. The alchemists spoke of first dissolving the prima materia, breaking down rigid structures and separating elements, before the coagulation, where these refined elements are brought together in a new, more conscious integration. In shadow work, we dissolve old patterns of denial, projection, and unconscious identification. We separate awareness from automatic reactions. Then comes the coagulation, the conscious reintegration of these energies into a more refined, balanced, and whole sense of self. This brings us back to Jung's provocative suggestion of choosing wholeness over goodness. This isn't about abandoning ethics or responsibility, but moving beyond rigid, often externally imposed ideas of goodness toward an authentic wholeness that honors the full spectrum of your humanity. Paradoxically, this integration often leads to more genuine goodness through its authenticity and consciousness. As you continue with shadow work, remember that integration happens gradually, in layers. Each aspect integrated creates more internal harmony and external authenticity, freeing energy previously used for repression and denial. As we begin to close our exploration of shadow work, let's gather the essential threads of what we've discovered together. Your shadow holds not just what you judge as negative, but tremendous potential, the gold of your disowned gifts and energies. Projection serves as your primary tool for recognizing shadow material as you notice your strong reactions to others. The goal is integration, bringing these disowned aspects into conscious relationship, not elimination or suppression. Throughout this work, safety and self-compassion remain paramount. Remember that shadow work is not a one-time event or quick fix. It's an ongoing process of deepening awareness, a lifelong journey of integration that unfolds gradually, revealing new layers of understanding and possibility with each step. This introduction is just the beginning of what can be a profound journey toward greater wholeness, authenticity, and conscious living. As you continue, you may discover that those aspects you once feared or rejected contain precisely the energy, wisdom, or strength you need for your continued growth and expression. As a gentle first step beyond this video, I invite you this week to simply notice, with curiosity and kindness, one moment where you feel a strong reaction, positive or negative, towards someone else. Ask yourself what quality sparked this. No judgment, just awareness. This simple practice, done consistently, can begin to illuminate patterns that have influenced you unconsciously for years. Feel free to share any insights or questions that arise in the comments below. If this exploration resonates, consider subscribing to Journey Deeper Together.